For convening. I said for some of us, for all of us, reconvening. It's good to see. Good to see you over there.
Yeah.
I remember you. You came from where exactly?
A long ways.
Fred Kowalo has returned.
Fresh off the tour.
Yeah, so before we get into the matter at hand here, I would be remiss to welcome you back. And, do you have any good tour stories you can, just, maybe throw us a nugget or something?
Nope.
You survived. You're so full of shit, Fred.
I survived. It was a rough one this year, but I'm back.
Well, I was hoping for a good Motley story or something.
No Motley stories. No. Haven't. I don't go back out with Motley till next week.
Okay.
Where do you go back on tour?
I go to LA for rehearsals.
Okay.
And then I think the tour starts sometime in February, maybe.
Are they coming to Pittsburgh at all?
No. We were there last year.
Wait,
How many
South America and Europe.
Wait, Motley's not coming back to Pittsburgh?
Not this year.
Huh. Oh, this is UK. They're coming back though eventually. Yeah. Okay. We assume. We don't know for sure.
Hope.
Yeah, we hope.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to see them in concert.
You didn't go to that
Hint.
show?
No. Hint, hint, Fred.
Is the COVID restrictions done?
Nope. Still COVID restrictions in place.
And you're loving every bit of
And
it.
I love every bit of it. Yeah.
Still.
Yep. It was yeah. Some some tours still have masks. Some still get tested. So it's one of those things.
I thought it was fucking over, but I guess not.
No, I mean, I figure it's cash, man. That's if somebody on there gets sick and they start canceling shows.
Yeah, I get it.
It's lost money.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, Rocco. I think if I just get into this here, the tour stories will find themselves within the matters at hand.
I feel like they will.
I feel like they will as well. Gentlemen, a couple ideas for discussion tonight, things that are weighing heavily on my mind that I would love to have some opinions on. They aren't all original topics. We've bounced this stuff around in prior shows, but I want to key on this first one, and that is whatever happened to the idea that we make mistakes and our life is improved by acknowledging our mistakes and learning from them. Why are we no longer allowed to make mistakes anymore? Why don't we allow ourselves to admit our mistakes anymore? I mean, because this is just what I see, in basically my life, my normal, regular family, friends, social life, as well as my realtor practice and dealing with clients and dealing with their agents and so forth. People are just really married to their decisions, even when they have been shown irrefutable proof that their decision or their belief is wrong. Why can't we admit a mistake? Or am I all wet? Am I all wrong? Am I wrong? As people are perfectly okay with admitting mistakes. What do you see?
Who wants to take this one first? I'll let someone else go because I have
I went first last time.
Matt, go ahead, Matt.
I think we have. We're in a tough situation with social media, which makes this problem probably in the spotlight. But my question is it really different? So
Okay.
I think I'm the youngest one here.
Okay. I guess so.
Oh, the gloves are off now, man. The gloves are off.
This man's so really
The gloves are off.
All right, Junior.
Was this always a problem? I feel like it is. I mean, egos, this isn't a new thing, having an ego.
Yeah.
Digging in. Like I said, I certainly think social media has caused this to come to a spotlight because now we're dealing with keyboard warriors all the time. Mm-hmm. No one's, especially with COVID, no one's face-to-face, so people dig in and have stronger opinions. Yeah. But I feel like, I mean, has this always been a problem?
So I look at least, I remember growing up, I think people were more inclined to admit mistakes. I think now, at least how I see it, people can always find someone or something to support their position. Therefore, they're less inclined to admit they're wrong. Like, you can go on Google and find any really statistic to support your argument. You can find people that you could be completely fucking wrong, but you'll find a group of people that will be like, yeah, you're right, definitely right. And
Flat earthers.
Yeah, and I just think, I look at it as, at least my recollection is, in high school and in college and even into law school, you didn't like being wrong. Like, no one likes being wrong. It's uncomfortable.
Right.
But you were okay admitting when you were wrong, because that's how you learned.
Right.
Now I think people just hate the uncomfortableness. People are searching for comfort in life, and being wrong is uncomfortable. So if they can find any little nugget to support their position, they're not going to admit they're wrong. That's how I look at it.
Let me play devil's advocate now. So social media, the internet, that has helped everyone get access to information. What about, I know my grandparents, when they were alive, they had their set positions. There was no chance you were moving them from their position. So I think one argument, and again, I'm not even saying I agree with this, but I think one argument can be that social media, the internet generally, actually promotes people shifting their point of view. Whereas generations before us didn't have access to that. They had their personal views, what they've faced in their life, and there is no way you're removing them from that position.
So go back to, you said the social media promotes the challenge of the view, or the
access to information. If someone wants to actually find that information, which is its own issue.
Yeah, so that's a good point. But I look at it. So I'll bifurcate those two things. I look at views, right? Like, I remember my grandmother. She was a staunch Democrat. Like, you weren't changing her viewpoint, and it wasn't based on any. It was just her views on the world.
Right.
So I look at it. That's one thing, right? So you're looking at views. I think other side of it is there are people that are just blatantly wrong when it comes to facts, and they'll hold that position because someone will support them. So I think I agree with both points that you've made, because I think there are those people that just won't change their opinion, but that's an opinion, right? That's kind of your personal viewpoint, your personal morals, your personal values and judgments. Then I think there are other people over here that they're just going to say 2 + 2 is 5, and they're not going to fucking budge from that. Even though everybody in the world knows it's 4, they found some schmuck online that says, yep, new math, 2 + 2 is 5, you're right. And not changing that position. That's how I see these two things. Fred?
We're looking at you, Fred.
Tell us we're all crazy.
No, I think that, in this, I guess, society that we live in, everyone wants to be right. They want to prove they're right. And they'll take wrong information and shove it down your throat. And if you bark loud, then people either listen or they just say, you know what. But either way, if you want to present your position as being right, you usually win over, whether you're right or not. And it is so important for people to feel right. Again, it goes back into, you can't say boo to people anymore. You can't say you're wrong because that might hurt your feelings, because that's that's my position.
Fuck your feelings.
And and that's exactly it. Now you got people that don't want to hurt your feelings, or people that don't want to get sued for saying something wrong or proven, because now you got people saying, well, prove me wrong. And now you got slanderous information going out there. One of my favorite things is to go on the on like Instagram and stuff like that, and you see this post has information that's been proved wrong, and you look, and it's somebody respected, or coming across as respected. It's like a politician or a fireman or whatever, and it's just like, but somebody slapped a sticker on there that had to say it was wrong because they had a position where they're looked upon. And again, I'm just going to throw this out there and stick it to the wall, and it sticks. And some people will say, you know what? I heard that on the internet. It must be right.
Yeah.
But, again, it comes down to, never wanting to be wrong. It's like a popularity contest, just like when you get your likes and your things on Facebook, and it's, more people think I'm right.
How do we move forward then in society? If we're going to, if right and wrong has been marginalized, if the perception of it now is so skewed and so open, and there's not clear delineation from right and wrong in society, generally speaking, if that's ebbing away, then what's the path forward? 20 years from now, what's the path forward?
It's been being ebbed away. It's been being wiped away from. Now here's where I want to get on my little high horse. It comes down to morals.
Your hobby horse.
Comes down to the morals and how you're raised, man.
Yeah.
If anybody in their right mind would have thought that I would be somebody sitting around talking about morals, and they tell me that, hey, you know what? When you're 53 years old,
I can't still believe it to this day.
You know, but the thing is, you know, at one time, you know, you wanted to tell the truth. You know, my mom and dad raised me right, and I got in a lot of trouble one time when I was in grade school because I was with some kids that broke windows. You know, and I was there. And tell the truth. You know, the principal says, tell the truth. I told the truth. Next thing I know, everybody's going, he did it. You know, and because I put somebody else's name in there. But you know what I mean? You know, but the bottom line is and for the most part, I always tried to be truthful. I've got the most crazy, outrageous stories in the world, but you know what? They're true. Yeah. You know, and I tell every little stupid detail, and people are like, come on, you don't have to tell. And yeah, man, yeah, because that's what happened. But now you have... You know, you're out there, and you've got to tell the truth is, you know, it's easier to lie and get away with it. You know, you don't actually get away with it anymore with all this social media. But I mean, you could actually tell a mistruth, and people will still support you because you have, you know, it's accepted.
Well, doesn't that go to what we were just getting at? It's like where does the truth matter anymore in social media?
Well, that's just it. I mean, people are teaching that it doesn't. You know, when you don't have good values, what's it hurt to tell a lie? You know, what's really getting away with it? Look at that cat, and I hate getting political. Look at that cat that just got elected to office. What's his name? My God, and they still voted. And they knew he was lying.
And no one's going to kick him out.
Exactly, and so it's accepted.
Representative Santos. He made up his entire
his whole background. It was based on a lie,
including calling himself gay when he was actually straight. To just use the gay angle. But he can't make his shit up.
No. But he used all that, but he still took advantage of it, and he got elected to office. Yeah. And nothing's going to happen to him. And that's what people see. I can lie and get what I want. Yeah. You know, but if you sit there and tell the truth and hey, I did this, I did that, and people go, oh, he's a bad guy. You know, we're not going to vote for him. And so if you look at stuff like that, somewhere down the line, our morals changed. And if you want to get back to it, like you were saying, what's in for us 20 years from now, look what happened to us like 20 years ago and even 20 years before that when TV was so wholesome. You know what I mean?
And about 30 years probably.
And then you go further on, and then things start changing. You know, it starts with, you know, the shift in society and society's views. Now, faking yourself on social media to get, you know, attention, to get a power position, to get any advantage over the next guy, people just look and say, hey, look, I'm lying.
Does this speak to more relativism?
Yeah, well, so I look at it. There's a couple things there. I think one, morals have shifted, and I think the world has become more inclined to believe in more relativism, where basically morals adjust to the situation. Two, I think feelings fucking matter, and they shouldn't. That's the problem, right? So people lie to, in a lot of instances, not to offend or hurt people's feelings, when the truth is what matters, right? We have to get past, I think, as a society to move forward, we have to get past worrying about not doing anything intentionally to harm somebody or to hurt somebody's feelings, but facts over feelings, truth over feelings. We have to get to that point. And yes, our morals have been eroded, and I think people and there's part of me that believes in moral relativism, because, you know, it is wrong to kill, but I would kill somebody in defense of my family. So that's moral relativism, right? Like, my morals in this instance, like, I believe killing is wrong, but if it's my family's life over another human being's life, I'm going to take the other human being's life. Like, that's just more relativism. So I look at, there's a lot of pieces to this. And I think social media has exacerbated things and made people more inclined to lie, to create stories in the pursuit of power and the pursuit of notoriety. And I think society's just let people get away with it because no one's calling bullshit, because you don't want to offend anybody, you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and we have to get past that. I mean, I remember growing up, like, feelings didn't matter. Like, you said what you said, and if your feelings were hurt, that's on you. I don't give a shit. Like, now it's like, oh, we can't say that because that might upset somebody. Well, if it's true, it's true. Like, sorry, that's just how the world is. And the world has just shifted. I see it differently, and it's unfortunate.
Going back to the morals talk, and my question is, who's raising who? We had this conversation last time I was here, but who's raising who? And I think social media is promoting, not just social media, but it's promoting our counterparts to raise each other rather than parents raising the kids. And so now if my counterparts online, I want to impress them. I want to make myself look good in front of them. I mean, I'm going to do really dumb stuff online. I'll lie, or I'll do all of that stuff. But if I'm trying to think examples outside of social media, even TV shows. Now you brought up television and how that's changed. How many even Disney shows and regular TV sitcoms show the parents as the idiots, as the people who don't know what is going on? It's always the kids know best. The parents will do dumb things, and they're airheads, and they don't know what's going on. And it'll be the main character and their friends. And those are the smart ones. And it's always the parents are, don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. I mean, it's everywhere, and I'm hypersensitive to it now with an 8-month at home. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to be viewed as the dumb one.
Well, no, you're right. Absolutely.
Where did that? Can we identify where that shift happened, or when that shift happened?
Good question.
Well, it wasn't the 90s, because like the big thing, or the 80s and 90s, because if you look back, at that time period, still the parents were in control. You can just ask Bill Cosby on the Cosby Show.
That was the 80s.
Well, no, you're right. Like I think back at TV shows, like sitcoms I watched growing up. Like it was the parents were the authority figures. They were the
Family
educated
ties.
ones. Like they, the kids had problems and they went to their parents to solve them. And I remember the whole, even the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I remember that one episode where Will Smith is like crying over his dad, and like that was a moment that I think got everybody. Like when it was a real moment in that TV show, and you don't see that anymore in TV shows. And that's what I mean. Morals have eroded in society because, like, look at the popular TV shows. It's drugs, it's violence, it's sex, I can't name off the top of my head 5 wholesome sitcoms that show a family dynamic of a wholesome, put together family where the parents are in charge, the parents are educated, the parents are morally correct, and the kids are just living life under the parents' guidance. I can't name any.
Well, the only place you're going to find that today,
repeats.
Nick at Night.
No, they'll probably censor it and not show it. And this isn't probably fair to say because I'm sure there are other denominations that have their own cable networks as well. But the first thing that comes to mind is Christian television. Outside of Christian television, probably going to be hard pressed to find that kind of moral theme in television anywhere.
We got hosed, Davey.
Well, I mean, even look at the show Modern Family that came out. I mean, that's been around for 10 years, and Phil the dad was the idiot. The mom was the authority figure. I'm not saying that's wrong, but it was like everybody made Phil the idiot.
It's absolutely messaging.
Yeah. And it's just, and the kids kind of dictated what they did, and that's the problem, because TV and movies are a view into society. That's how I look at it.
Okay, let's talk about that. Are they, or have they become over the past couple decades the driver of the views in society?
It's the chicken and the egg.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know.
I mean,
it should be a reflection of society.
Yeah, if I look at, just from my standpoint, I tend to think that movies and TV shows are a reflection of the way society is at this point.
Okay.
I don't think society shifts to what TV tells them to shift to. I think.
You don't think there's messaging throughout,
I'm sure.
media in general?
There definitely is, but I don't think it's like, oh, parents are all wholesome. Let's make parents look like idiots. Now all the parents are going to be idiots. I think it's like parents started
maybe to de-emphasize
to your point,
the parental role in society.
Well, I think to Matt's point, like there are other people raising kids now. Like parents aren't doing necessarily what we're supposed to. There's social media. There's friends. There's people in school. There's teachers. There's other people that have influence over children, and TV has just become a depiction of that. And it's marginalized the parenting role. It's marginalized the influence parents have over kids, and that to me is a problem.
That's what scares me the most, because there's a ton of people who will gladly stand in line to influence your kid, or stand in your place.
Yes.
Right.
Like, and as one example, I know this is something that the vast majority of parents do now, is when you go out to dinner, do you give the iPad to the kid?
Yep.
Headphones in, watching the iPad. You don't sit around, talk to family. That kid is checked out. And we talk all the time.
Yeah.
We'll never do that. We'll never do that. We know we're facing an uphill battle, but it's something that at least we're cognizant of, that people will gladly stand in our place and teach our kid what's important, what's not.
Yep.
So I think parents now have to be hyper vigilant because of the internet, because of TV shows. I mean, we can easily lose our kids going down the wrong path.
Absolutely. That's and to your point, like we said the same thing. Like you say, well, I'm never going to do that. But there are things you just do, and you pick your battles. But like we're pretty good when we're out to dinner.
Like the binky on the floor.
It was a stuffed animal, and I was just like, oh, it's fine. You got your first kid, you're good. You'll see. But it's. I look at it from typically when we go out with the kids, we don't let them get on technology. It's about the conversation. It's about not have there been times? Absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and say there haven't been times where like Melina's losing her shit, or you're just like, hey, just here, I just want to eat something. But for the 90% of the time, it's not. And I think that's on the parents, and it's just parenting is harder. I feel like parenting just keeps getting more and more difficult because there's so many influences on kids that are external to the nuclear family that can impact and influence a child so quickly that we have to be aware of it and try and marginalize it. And that's a hard thing to do as a parent. Also, working and raising a family and paying bills and doing all this stuff. It's like, it's just hard because technology has made it difficult.
Are the kids getting external, inputs that are saying, hey, you're not really wrong? Are we being corrected with right and wrong? I don't mean even from a disciplinary standpoint. Take the emotional disciplinary component and set it over here. Just in terms of how kids are being instructed as they maneuver through their life, outside of parents now, I'm talking in school, other group events and so forth. Are we willing to tell them to maybe hurt their feelings? No, you did it incorrectly. That's not the right way. Here's the correct way. Or try another way, create another way. Are we afraid to just harshly say, no, that's incorrect, do it again, as opposed to worrying about their feelings of being rejected? I think that's we're just not delivering simple yes and no's anymore. I think it's a problem.
Yeah.
I think that the problem with teaching anything anymore is because kids get upset. You don't tell somebody no anymore. Hell, people don't even tell their dogs no anymore.
That's a very good.
You know what I mean?
That's what you do, right?
I tell my dogs no because they're assholes.
In your practice, though, do you have to coddle people in your practice, or can you tell people no, you cannot? I mean, if the law states you can't do a certain thing, and your client says, hey, can I do this? Your fiduciary duty is to say no, you cannot, and here is why. But I think a lot of times in society now, we're so afraid that, well, if we say no, it's going to come off in a negative way. Well, yeah, no's a negative.
Or it's going to have bad repercussions back on you.
But you need to learn what works and what doesn't work, and yes and no's, right? Especially when you're younger. If we're not giving that, that's a form of, to me, it's a form of abuse if you don't accurately explain the difference between right and wrong.
Here's something silly. You know, my thing is people are afraid to say no because you're going to hurt your feelings, or you're going to get the repercussions from it, which could be anything from a good slandering on social media, or like the teacher the other day in Georgia who corrected a 6-year-old that had an altercation with somebody trying to tell him, and the kid shoots him. A 6-year-old.
Right.
In grade school has a gun, and knowingly, that's what they said, the teacher confronted him, and the kid whips out a gun and shoots him. That could happen anywhere now with somebody just saying, no, you're wrong. And look at the road rage. Hey, who cut who off? Whatever, who cares? I got my gun, I'm right. And you see people just snapping at the drop of a hat to prove their point. You know, there is no telling somebody, you know, you're wrong and not having any kind of fear of any kind of repercussion. You know, and so people nowadays are just like, nah, let it go. Yeah, or you're absolutely right, Jimmy. My teachers back in the day, figure it out. Show me how you did it. Yeah. Show me the work.
Yeah.
Find a different way of doing it. And what's funny, man, is my job in my work, I apply that to myself still. There's got to be a different way I could do this. If it doesn't work this way, I'll find a different way. We were taught problem solving then.
Yes.
We weren't shown problem. You know, if you had, you know.
Is that under attack now? It's basically.
What I'm saying is, it's the thought process of someone saying, okay, you may be right, but try to find a different way to do it. You know, but they don't have that anymore. They don't have somebody that says, you know, you're wrong or try a different way. It's either yes or, you know, no one's told no anymore.
Well, where did we conflate being corrected? You know, maybe when the young, where do we conflate that with just part of the way you raise and help a young person grow? And we conflate that now with like worried about their feelings and rejecting, you know, like
our generation fucked that up.
We're in a dangerous area right now.
It's our generation that fucked that up. Parents.
When did participation trophies?
It's our generation
become a thing.
Yeah, that's
probably right around that time.
Yeah. You're exactly right. Like, that's what it was. Like, growing up, we didn't get participation trophies. You lost, you fucking lost. Like, now it's like...
We're probably trying to be like how opposite of how our parents were.
Well, and that's true. And that's what happens. And it's like, and people went overboard. Like, you know, because we were over here. It's like, well, no, we want our kids to feel completely different. We want to make sure our kids... And there, I find myself, like... There are many times where I'm like, I don't want my daughters to feel a certain way. But, like, even had a discussion with Laura the other day about something one of our kids was dealing with. I said, she's got to sort it out. Like, she has to learn how to navigate this. You can't get involved. She has to learn to handle this situation on her own. And that's what we have to do as parents. But too many parents, I mean... my whole problem with participation trophies, I'm just going to go there, is like, that's not how the fucking world works. You don't get a reward for participating. The best get the rewards and the worst don't. That's how the world works. If you want something in life, you've got to fucking work for it. Plain and simple. And if you're not willing to do that, then don't cry about it. But we're too concerned about our kids' feelings, and it's like, oh, well, you played, you get a reward. Like, that's not, you don't get rewards in life for just being in the game. You've got to win the game. And that's the problem. And that's why we don't tell kids no. We're not teaching them the skills they need to get out in the world and actually be successful. We're not teaching that, and that's a problem.
Yep, absolutely. I agree with that.
You see it with the generation coming out of school now. Like, they have and I sound like an old person talking about this, but they have expectations that are unrealistic. Like, you'll get paid that money when you prove you're worth it. You don't get paid that just because you exist. Like, prove your worth. The world will pay you that. But you can't just come out of school thinking you're entitled to a certain value because your whole life you've been told you were special.
I was a guest speaker at a university maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. And that's what the teacher said. So here's me, old guy, kind of knows what I'm doing in my business, kind of successful. Then you had a college professor. And the college professor prepped me for these kids. He said, these kids are so delusional. And this is like somebody that's, 18 years younger than me, And he goes, they're so delusional because they think they're going to come straight out of here and get a $100,000 job doing absolutely nothing, sitting there doing the minimum amount of work. They don't realize that it's work. He goes, you got to scare them. So I got up there, in typical Fred, I've got no notes. I just go on and I looked over at these, and I looked out there and I saw kids on iPads and phones and nobody was even paying attention. And I scared the living shit out of them. I told them straight up, if you guys think you're going to get a job when you get out of college, you're fucking delirious. And you saw everybody go, what? Like he swore. And I just gave him I didn't even, they wanted me to speak for an hour. I could have spoke for an hour and a half.
Did you speak in roadie speak?
I did speak in roadie speak. And I told him, I said, you're fucking delusional.
Yeah.
And when I started swearing, you just saw everybody look up. And then tell you what, the teacher told me, he goes, by the end, and I told him, I said, if you think you're going to get a job, I said, if you're going to maintain a C average or a B, I said, somewhere out there, somebody's got an A. I said, and you're not going to get that job. So I said, don't lose your, I said, don't quit your job at the food service center or whatever. I said, because you need a job, because you're not going to get it. And the truth is, in my class, when I graduated in 91, there were only 2 of us that ever got out and made movies. The rest of the class, they did something different. But, my teacher told me I was trash. He said, you produce trash, you make trash, your group's trash. He goes, you're never going to go anywhere. I'm like, oh, I'll watch because
But sometimes back then those could use it for motivation. But you say
that's exactly
today,
what
these
he
kids
did.
would go cry in the corner.
Well, that was going to be my point. This cat motivated me to get out there and bust my ass. And I'm going to show you wrong. Now you say it to somebody, you got a lawsuit on your hand, man. You told my kid he couldn't do it, and that's the difference. We were taught, and that's what I did with the kids. I kind of like told them, look, man, you got to get motivated. The only person that's going to do it for you is yourself. You can't. The world's going to. It's going to eat you alive.
Yep. Why is it now wrong to be wrong? With a lot of folks, it's wrong. They either have a self-esteem issue in regards to making a mistake, or they're sometimes indignant about it. Like, well, I can't make a mistake. You don't have the right to tell me I'm wrong. I hear that bullshit all the time. I don't have the right to tell you you're wrong, but the facts are standing right there on the table in front of you, and you just won't acknowledge that. You see them, you just won't acknowledge them. I do think this is a problem. I do. It's a denial thing. It's almost a psychosis to a degree. I see extreme versions of it, which I just shake my head like, you got to be kidding me.
But you see people behind him saying, no, he's right. You're right.
Well, that's the next part of the question.
You got people backing him up.
Now soft.
Well, no, Rocco, you said it a while back. You said, listen, if you have a certain belief structure, even though inside you may know it's not factually correct, but you want to die on that hill. You've made a decision. I'm going to die on this hill. You can then take that skewed belief and go out on the web and find like-minded people to support to support your delusion.
Yeah, that's in.
Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, you're.
Well, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you don't have the right to tell me I'm wrong.
You hurt my feelings.
You don't have the right to tell me I'm wrong.
I just think the world has gotten soft, unfortunately, and I'm just saying it like it is. Like, people have gotten soft, and that's the problem with being wrong. Because look, life is hard. Let's just be honest. Like, life is difficult, right? It's also a beautiful thing when you engage in life. Mm-hmm. People expect to get what they want by letting life happen to them instead of making it happen. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. So this whole thing about being wrong and not having your feelings hurt, it's like they're just expecting the world to come together and conspire to give them what they believe they're entitled to without actually doing the fucking work. Like, that's not how it works. Like, I look at myself like, I've worked my ass off for 20 years to get here. it's been the hardest 20 years of my life, but it's also, I love it. Like, I love every day of it. But there's been ups, downs, and everything in between. But I had to be engaged in the process day in and day out and do what it took to get there. And most people aren't willing to do that, because when it gets a little bit too difficult, oh, my feelings hurt, it's not right, and they just stop.
I can't.
And think, right, it's like you can. I always say, if someone else has done it, it can be done. You just got to find the way to do it.
We have
do
too
the work.
many mechanisms in society to coddle failure.
Yeah, people seek comfort. Like, to be successful at anything in life, it's the most uncomfortable thing you ever do. I mean, it really is. And you have to be comfortable with that. The moment most people feel a little bit of pressure or a little bit of uncomfortness,
They bail.
And they seek comfort. And to me, I mean, I just look at it differently.
Well, yeah, but society's now, I guess, kind of okay with that. Where I can tell you, man, I mean, I wanted an apartment and to get out of my parents' house as fast as I could when I was younger. God love them. But I wanted that. But that wasn't going to be even remotely possible unless I found a way to earn money. There was no mechanism in society that just because I don't like my situation at home, I have a right to have another place.
Yeah.
You don't have a right to anything. But there is a complete mind shift in the past couple decades where it's like, is it too easy just to survive now? Is it just too easy just to survive?
What do you think?
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Well, I'm still on the internet and social media, that piece. I think it's so easy to find an echo chamber. If you're looking for one, there's no reason that you'll have to find an opposing view.
Thus, validity.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? There goes your satisfaction of validity. It's all bullshitted validity, but it's still your own validity.
Yep.
And again, I think I feel like even over the past 2 years, my views have shifted so much. Where I don't want to say I used to be more tolerant of things. I'm just like, cut the shit. Like, just like, cut the excuses, cut the complaining, cut the bullshit. If your life isn't what you want it to be, then fucking change something. Like, do something different. Like, one of my friends, I remember years ago, he would always complain about his situation or his job. I'm like, you've got two fucking choices. Accept it or change. But don't complain about it. Complain doesn't do anything about it. Now, people have gotten so used to complaining about things because, to your point, people validate the complaints through social media. It's
that's
like,
the megaphone. They have the megaphone.
So it's now validated. So that's their natural reaction. Instead of changing or accepting, I'm going to complain because all these other people make me feel good about complaining. And that's bullshit.
Yeah, that's a great point. So before the web, there was very little woe is me, because the only sympathy you're going to get is maybe your mom. Maybe your girlfriend or maybe your buddies would commiserate in your misery and feel bad for you for about a minute. But now you can go out and seek other weak-minded people to commiserate, and sometimes form little gangs and go out and try to stamp on successful people because things aren't working out for them, because for various reasons, but they all kind of like congregate together. And again, it's feelings, but I think it does stem back to the point that, like, people are afraid or just vehemently wish not to be wrong, even when they know they are. They don't want to be wrong. You don't have the right. The world doesn't have the right to declare that I am wrong on this. That's what I see. That's what I feel. Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong in thinking that way, but it's just, I don't know. And again, what about the learning that has to come from making mistakes? That's a vital part of the human experience, right? Is that playing out? How do you teach somebody that can't admit a mistake? How about that? How does an educator of any level teach somebody who defies the idea that they're wrong or they make a mistake, or won't even acknowledge that their chosen activity did not end up with the result they wanted and they need to change course? How do you teach in that environment?
Is it possible? I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
they must have figured it out. Kids are graduating college, and there are great entrepreneurs creating great things in this world. So some people have figured it out. It just seems to me like there's so much of the other that's visible.
yeah, I mean, when it comes to teaching, you can't teach somebody if they're not willing to learn from their mistakes. Like, you learn more by failing and making mistakes than you do by just being educated, so to speak. Like, I've learned more in my career from the mistakes I've made and the failures I've had than anything I did right. Any schooling I had, the 3 degrees I've had, that taught me 10% of what I know. The 90% I learned was through failure and through trials and tribulations. Like, just getting in the game and being engaged in the process and making mistakes and pushing through it and trying new things.
I think teaching critical thinking is, I'm just thinking about, if someone were to tell me that I was wrong and that they were right, out of principle, I'd fuck you. But what facts are you bringing to the table? You're just stating that I'm wrong, and I need to accept that I'm wrong, and this is the correct way of thinking. I am much more open to. I mean, we see it in the office. You always question me in the office. It's like, well, think about it that way. I'm like, all right, shit. Yeah, you're right. But
when Rocco says that, well, I kind of feel
just a different way of looking at things.
But no, that's the point, though, right? Because now you're not. You may already have the answer, taking it out of the office. If someone already has the answer, I would be less inclined to just blindly shift my point of view just because someone told me, no, this is the correct way. I'm much more open and going back to the teaching, having some critical thought and being pressed on my position. Why do you feel that way? What studies have you read?
So you want to unpack it then.
Yeah. I think that because, I mean, you see Twitter right now. We use that as an example. How many fake accounts there are. I mean, that was the whole issue with Elon Musk and the purchase. I mean, how many accounts out there just want to feed bullshit, so it keeps people in their lane and not willing to change their position. So if you teach someone to critically think and say, wait a minute, I don't know about that, let me look into it more, I think a lot more people would be willing to switch their position.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about that a million times, critical thinking. Like, that's you're exactly right. That's
lack
what's lacking.
thereof.
Because I look at, like, anytime I don't want to say arguing, but have an opposing viewpoint than someone, right? I don't ever try and get somebody to agree with me. If you can see my perspective, I'm done. I won. Not won, but I'm good. Like, we've had a discussion. We can agree, disagree, but if you can at least see my perspective and how I got to my position, say, okay, I don't agree, but I understand, then I'm good. Like, we don't have to take it farther because we don't have to agree on everything. I'm not going to blatantly say, hey, you're wrong. I'm going to say, well, here's the way I look at it, and here's why I got to this. And we can come to different conclusions, but as long as we each understand how we got there, I'm okay with that. Like, we don't have to be right and wrong all the time. Life isn't always black and white, right? There are many paths to get to a resolution of something, and we may just find a different way of doing it. And it's just being able to engage in that discussion, to your point, being able to critically think and critically discuss and unpack the process of thinking. Because that's where I think, like, I know the school I went to, like, we were not taught to critically think. Like, I was luckily blessed with some level of intelligence, and I was a thoughtful person, but I memorized shit. Like, if I look back at high school, like, that's why I had an academic scholarship going to college. At the end of my freshman year, I was on academic probation because I didn't know how to study. Like, I just memorized shit. Like, in high school, I could look at a page and memorize it and regurgitate that exact
studying
page.
is a whole study itself that just isn't taught. It's a curriculum.
Yeah, I had to learn how to do that in college.
Yeah, how to study.
And that's something I had to learn to critically think. High school didn't prepare me for that. High school prepared me to look at it, memorize it, regurgitate it, and forget. And that's the piece of, I think, our education system that's broken. Now, I did have some teachers that were fantastic teachers. They challenged us. They got us to think, but they were few and far between. Once I got to college, I had to learn. I had to retrain my brain how to actually think, how to actually solve problems, how to actually understand the content and the substance of something.
Right.
We should be teaching kids that a lot earlier in life, and we're not.
I want to ask you about being on the road. Like, so, matter of fact, we were talking about you before you got here in regards to how difficult it must be when you're out on the road and you need to do your work, but also see other areas that need addressing and go help somebody. Do you ever have to worry about someone else on the road that's in your crew or department or your tour? Are you cognizant of the fact that if you want to help them fix a problem so it benefits the group and benefits the show, you may be, I don't know, insulting them, or you may be not going to be received well? Do you really have to preface the things that you say?
Me?
More now than ever?
You're asking me this.
I am asking you, yeah. You maneuvered your industry for almost 25 years now, Fred, so obviously you figured it out, but I'm guessing you're not talking to fellow stage folks today the same as you were 25 years ago. You can't be. There's no way.
I've gotten in so many arguments on what would be the best for the show with people, and it's not like that I'm not telling somebody how to do their job, but the only time I get involved was when it involves me. But there is, again, I've been making movies since 1990. I've been a stagehand since 92. So, and then 6 years later, I start going on tour in 99. So I've seen a lot of different aspects of it. One thing about me, and I will say this, if I screw something up, that's on me. And it's even funny, like on shows, if I fuck up a punch or whatever, I did it. I always point out, I make it known that was me. But so many times I see people out there anymore, and it's recently anymore. Oh, it's not my job. It's not me. It's not me. And it's just like, well, it ain't me. And again, I call it. If I did it, I fess up to it. That's how I've always been at work.
Well, is that part of it, though? We're just afraid to admit that we made a mistake?
And a lot of people do.
My thing is, has it always been that way? That's not a social media phenomenon.
People are afraid of what's going to happen. Will I get fired if I make that mistake? Here's the beautiful thing about me. No, I don't give a shit. Fire me. I don't need the job. I don't. And that's what I always say. Look, man. So I did it. And I did have one notoriously bad attitude person in rock and roll once tell me, why I like you? Because you're not a yes man. Because I'm not afraid to say, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. Or my whole goal of anything I do for work, be it a family, be it a relationship, be it, a band, be it, I do the best job of what I think is needed, and if I make a mistake on it, then that's on me, and I'll fess up to it, but I'm not going to go out there and half-assed, do something just, no, you're paying me to do it. I go out there and I do it. And I think what the problem is a lot of people nowadays, I get a lot of those kids from that classroom out there that are just trying to skate through. Hey, look, I got the big money job and I don't got to do anything. There's been, like that meme, you had one job, you had one job, replace the batteries. That's all you got to do, replace the batteries. And I've been on gigs where halfway through the show, things are dead, and I'm going, yep, hello. You didn't replace the batteries. That's all you had to do. I saw you in catering, but you didn't replace the batteries. And that's what the people were just like, hey, man, I'm here. I'm getting paid. There's no pride in work. There's no,
That's a good point, the pride in work. That's a real good point.
You shouldn't have to lie if you got good, hey, look, I did this. I'm proud of what I did, but then you have people taking credit for, for what you did. But here's what's funny about that too is I really don't, and I'm probably the wrong one to ask about that because I really don't care.
Yeah, you don't give a shit.
Yeah, if somebody else says, well, I worked on that too. Well, okay, I don't need the recognition, but that's me, and I'm comfortable with that because that's just me. It's nice to be.
But how do you deal with people that, like, if you identify the mistake that's being made in this show and it was a big one, and you have to step up, you have to step in, or else it's going to be a cluster. Like, do you ever fear repercussions, or do you worry about how it's going to be received, or do you have any stories about when it wasn't received well?
Oh yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm not. There's two different me's, and there's a lot of people that see them. There's the fun goofball me, and then there's the serious. Okay, this is costing money. Like when I first directed, when I came out of school and I had that little directing job, I just remember, I wore a jacket and a tie and a button down to work every day.
I'd pay money to see that.
And
There's got to be photos somewhere.
I just remember this woman saying to me, she goes, "Do you ever lighten up?" I'm like, "It's your money. Do you want me to lighten up?" And she's like, I said, but that's just it. I've always been focused on work, delivering the best product you can. I had a guy who was new. And technically he would have been above me, because he was the stage manager. But I'm watching this guy load a truck with a forklift, knowing that someone's going to die. And I'm saying, "Hey, man," and I remember this young kid who was years younger than me telling me to mind my own business, and I went off. And to the degree I went off, I can sling some words together that you've never heard, and especially if you
might have been in jail doing that today.
Yeah, well, that's but I
hurt somebody's feelings.
But I remember, it was brought to the attention of the guy whose band it was, and he saw me, and in not so many words, he said, "Was it warranted? Did he deserve it?" I'm like, "Yes," because I guess I have enough credibility in that. Yeah, they know that I'm not going to just go off and But man, this kid, I know what I'm doing. Blah blah. You know what? I'm showing you.
Yeah.
I'm helping you out. I'm showing you because I've been doing this 20 years longer than you have, 10 years, 15 years longer than you have. Mm-hmm. I'm showing you how to do it. I did it calmly, and then when you started mind your own business, I know what I'm doing, this, that, and I'm thinking somebody's still going to die because you're stacking that shit the way you're doing it, and you tell me for a second time to, mind my own business, my job's done, that's when I'm going to go off because, again, it's pride and work. I don't want to see anybody die, but it's all about, I didn't say I didn't attack him at first and said but he took offense to me saying he was wrong in what he was doing because what he was doing was dangerous.
And that's the problem, though. You should not take offense when something you've done has been pointed out to be incorrect because it could be dangerous. It might not be dangerous.
And I didn't do it in an obvious way where other people saw either. Yeah. I pulled them to the side.
But also, you always talk about you've been practicing law for 20 years, and oftentimes folks don't take in account because of today's society. There's 20 years to justify what you folks charge, to justify the positioning you are in the law community, and what you bring to the table. Well, what about just the idea that when you're young and trying to learn the fascination that goes with trying to be better at something, you would look at someone who is experienced as a treasure trove of opportunity to pull from. Yeah. I don't mean esoterically. I mean honestly. But what you just stated is really part and parcel to a lot of what I see. It's like people believe the delusion that they're on equal footing with someone that's done the job for 25, 10.
Especially in my business.
Because, but it's like, I'm trying to understand the psychology. Are we in this internet world or / social media world, and it somehow is conditioning the minds of some to believe that there's instant credibility and they need to be playing on the same playing field as those who are experienced at the same task? Because it's just a different philosophy. It is a little bit of delusion too, but it's like they just don't understand the importance of the humility and the idea of learning and grasping the knowledge and then using it. It's not at the forefront.
Well, so I think there are two types of people, right? There are people that treat what they do as a job or as a profession. I think people that treat it as a job just come in, they do what they feel like they need to do, and then they go home and get a paycheck. I've always treated the practice of law as a profession, like an athlete. Like, it's practice. Like, I'm trying to get better, trying to learn from people that have more experience than me. Like, when I came out of law school, worked at a firm, there was a gentleman that kind of mentored me. Like, I listened to everything he said, watched how he interacted with clients, watched how he spoke to people, watched how he dressed, how he acted in the office. Like, everything I could learn from that person just by observing, I did. And that's, even to this day, like, I've been doing this since 2003, but I still every day look at it as like, how do I get better? How do I practice more? How do I learn more? This is a profession to me. It's like, it's not a job, it's a profession. So that's how, but I know people that just treat things, and there are lawyers out there that just treat it as a job. They're going to come in, they're going to do their work, and they're going to go home and get a paycheck. But I think to be successful as a lawyer, any profession, the moment you flip that switch of like, this is a profession, and you treat it like that, meaning you're practicing and you're getting better and you're finding ways to hone your skills and to develop new skills and to learn from the veterans and, you know, learn from the different players on the team, different ways of doing things, you could be so successful so fast but most people aren't wired to do that. They're wired to just come in, do what needs to be done, and go home. Yep. Because they want that comfort of life. Like, being in a profession is hard. Like, the practice of law is hard. I mean, you know it. I mean, it's in I don't turn it off. It's every day. Like, I was in the office today. I was doing stuff yesterday. It's what you do. But it's, to me, for me to get better, you know, I look at it like, I'll never be where I want to be in my profession. Like, I'm always trying to do better, to be better. And that's a hard thing to do, right? It's a hard thing to turn off, but it's also what makes a person good at what they do.
Certainly.
But people aren't willing to do that because it's uncomfortable, and it comes back to the whole comfort of life. People just, like, to your point, like, it's just, they wanted to do what they thought they had to do, and that's their job. And like, just leave me alone. Like, don't make me uncomfortable. Don't tell me how to do it. This is what I'm supposed to do. And you are coming from a place of, one, it's dangerous. You're going to fucking kill somebody. Two, I know how to do this. You might want to listen to me. And people aren't willing to do that sometimes.
Yep. When last year at this time, I went out with a band. I only go out with bands that I know. And that was always my thing. And then I went out, you know, it was like this band needed somebody, but I was the old man.
Was that where you were a confetti tech?
No. That was, well, I absorbed everything I could on that because it was a new gig. No, I was still a guitar tech, but I went out with everybody that was a generation younger than me. And I'm telling them what's wrong with something, and they're like, no, that's you. I'm like, no, it's not. There's a transformer below the stage. That's what's making the buzz. No, it's all on you. And I sat around. Now, here I am, the old man, new to the crew, and I'm fighting with a turned heated with 5 kids who, you know, they're right. They're absolutely right. They're the ones that are right. We've been here for 4 years. Well, I've been doing this for 24, you know, whatever. And, you know, but no, I'm wrong because
well, let me ask you this.
They didn't want to do the work.
When you proved them that
I took them. Oh, go ahead.
So when you proved that they were wrong, how did they react?
You're going to love this. You're going to love this. I took these kids. I did something that I don't do. I went and cried to the boss. Hey, man, look. You want me to deal with this? And I'm like, come on, can't you just get along? Look, no, because I'm right. So I went. I got the boss. I got the production manager. I got the tour manager. I got him, and I said, see, this is a transformer. See that? That's where your rig is. I said, that's what's causing the bust. You got electromagnetic field, whatever, blah, 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 blah. I really don't know the theory on it. I just
you just made shit up.
It sounded good.
It sounded good at the time. I lied. And,
I lied.
But no, I mean, but I don't, you know, I mean, I've dealt with it enough in different places that I knew that that's what the problem was, and that's why I went and looked for it, and that's what I found. So here's your problem. So I prove it to him, and I take a pack, and I show him, you know, you're getting a buzz and a hum. Mm-hmm. I said, this is what your problem is. You know what they said? Well, it was like that too yesterday. And that is no bullshit. They tried to validate, and they walked away. You know, like I'm like I'm an asshole.
That's my point.
But then they just walk away.
They can't admit.
Well, it was doing that yesterday, and I'm like, well, you know, hey man, I don't know what to tell you about you. I said, you didn't. This is what I actually said. I said, you didn't tell me about it. You know, we thought you would fix it. Well, it ain't my gig. You know, so you know, but I'm telling you what to look out for, but yeah, they wanted,
Well, let me ask you this: will the world continue to run? I mean, obviously, in the near time, it's going to have to. But if we continue here, the importance of right and wrong is just going to ebb away over a couple of generations.
Yes.
The importance of
has.
right and wrong. When wrong has no consequences. And I don't mean like always like life or death consequences, but any kind of uncomfortableness, whether financially, physically, when being wrong does not have consequences, because it just gets absorbed into society, not to hurt feelings.
Again, if you look, there's no regard. You said not for like life and death thing, but there's no morals. That's where the foundation needs to start. Because if you were morally correct, you would admit your mistakes and you wouldn't lie about it.
Well, it's an easier way to live, that's for sure.
But
I mean, you would think.
But when somebody tells you you're wrong, now look what we got. We got no regard for human life, where I'm just going to pull a gun and shoot you because you said I was wrong. Now, you know what really happens with that? You go to jail and your whole life's fucked. But nobody sees it like that. It is that we're that far away. You didn't have that shit in the 70s. You didn't have somebody bringing a gun to school because they got bullied. You didn't have you could get paddled. Remember, they had a paddle in school. You were disciplined. Now you can't.
Corporal punishment.
Yeah,
because
I remember that.
Exactly.
My ass is still hurting from some of those swings.
You don't have that anymore. You have people attacking teachers. The people that are trying to teach the values, you can't even get it through these grade school kids or young kids or high school. There's no hope if you can't get across to these people. And it all starts, and I'm not, we talked about it, it all starts at home.
Yeah.
It all starts of what is valued. And when we've got kids...
What do you do about that? You can't, how do you legislate that? You can't legislate morality.
Well, exactly. But y'all, look at this. Now, here I'm going to say this. I'm going to throw this out there. If you go to school in Japan or any of those Far East, those kids aren't taught ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. They're taught manners. Kindergarten, you're taught manners. Great, to respect your elders. We don't have that. They can't even respect our teachers. It's crazy. That's the foundation. And look at how smart those other countries are. I'm not being a dick, but
Literally, they are.
Yeah, and the thing is, that's where it is. The fundamentals of respecting yourself and respecting others and having honor and having discipline. We don't have that. You see it in the athletes, some of the athletes, but their ultimate motivation is the money, is the big contract. You've got guys out there that can't read catching a football, and you've got a scientist somewhere, waiting for his next grant to come in so he can do something to change the world. And it's crazy how everything's backed up. But again, in schools, that's what you have to start. You have to start teaching morally what's right and what's wrong, but everybody's afraid to do it.
We need to start being okay with when we're being told we're wrong. We need to start being back okay with that again.
Well, we talk about, right and wrong. I think a lot of people would be willing to admit they were wrong if they could do it in silence and no one would know.
Yeah.
True.
The issue
that's a
with
start.
issue with social media is when you admit you're wrong, you are going to get blasted for it potentially.
No, you're right.
So if you don't dig in, then everyone's expecting apologies. You need to make a podium speech.
Yep.
You get canceled. So everyone's like, you know what?
The
Screw
cancel
it.
thing's
I'm just going to dig in. I am not going to admit I'm wrong.
Yep.
So
And
you're
think
saying
about
it's
it.
a self-preservation thing.
Absolutely. Think
Yeah,
about
it
the
is.
people who do admit they're wrong. They get raked through the coals because the audience or the bots on Twitter, they smell blood.
Yep.
And they're like, let's take this. And we're so demented as the public say like, man, this is great. It's like it's watching a train crash, right? It's like I don't approve of this, but I'm going to go ahead and saddle in and see what happens here. So
True.
I mean, mob mentality, no one stops it.
Yeah.
My thing is with when I am wrong, I always say, yeah, look, I did it. I fess up to it, done.
Yeah.
Because I always found it's done.
Yeah, but you can't move. Yeah, and you can't move forward with it really.
Yeah, exactly. And
Until
that's
you
what-
acknowledge it.
And
try to
once it's
understand what happened.
It
and
goes
just-
away faster.
Yeah, accountability is an amazing thing. I mean, it makes life very simple. When you just be accountable for the shit you do and don't do and the mistakes you make, life gets really fucking easy.
Yep.
Like when I was in corporate America, and even today with the firm, like if someone fucks up, we're all gonna fuck up. Just tell me, we'll fix it. Just be accountable for it. Like my biggest thing, like if someone would lie to me and like try and blame someone else, that's where I lose my shit.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, any mistake is fixable. We can solve any problem. Just admit there's a problem, admit what happened, and then we'll find a solution. No problem. But like in corporate America, I used to fucking hate sales guys. Like they were, because I was a lawyer, right? So deals had to come through me, and they would lie through their teeth. And what would always piss me off, and I finally said it to them. I said, look, they would send me a contract and say, oh, just got this from the client. It needs done like right now before the end of the day on Friday. I'm like, really? Because the email trail you forwarded, you've had the thing in your inbox for 2 fucking weeks.
Yeah.
And you just forgot about it. So people kept doing that and doing that. And finally, we had a meeting with all of them. I said, look, if you just tell me you fucked up, I will stay here till midnight to get this deal done. Like, I promise you that.
Don't lie to me.
If you lie to me, that's going to sit in my inbox for 2 fucking weeks. And that's how I approached it. And once I kind of had that conversation, things changed. People realized, okay, just be accountable. And then they would start telling me, hey, fuck this up. Like, I missed it in my inbox. Is there any way you can get it done today? Yep, I'll get it done. But it's like, that's my thing. Like, just be accountable. Just be responsible. Don't lie. Just tell me what happened.
But the issue with right and wrong, what's tied to being wrong is what? I apologize.
Yeah.
It is so hard.
Yeah.
To, one, say you're sorry. I apologize. I messed that up.
Yeah.
But
Is it?
I think
most people,
it's
yeah, it
very
is.
challenging. I think
Unless you're Canadian.
because even think about that situation right there with the entire example that
Yeah.
you gave. You didn't
Sorry.
say
Sorry.
sorry.
Didn't say sorry.
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 Yeah.
Sorry, Dwayne. Sorry.
You didn't say I apologize. You said I messed up.
Yeah.
Like, think of all the ways that we work
Yeah.
around the actual words.
You're absolutely
I'm
correct.
sorry.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's
It's
a real
always
good point.
it's always I can go in half in and say I messed up.
Yeah.
I messed up. So you never say I'm sorry.
Man, I never
Yeah.
gave that any thought.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I actually like
So I think a lot of
That is a
people
really
don't
good
want to
point.
admit they're
I
wrong,
would apologize a lot in
even
my
though
life.
they know they're wrong because
Yeah.
they don't want to apologize.
That's crazy.
Yeah, now I got to think about things I say. Like, do I say I'm sorry or do I just say I fucked up?
Yeah, I mean,
No, you're
it's,
right.
it's
Like,
always
that's-
different.
that's
It's not
that.
me telling you I'm sorry. It's hey, I fucked up.
I say.
So I'm
I
like
say
speaking
I-
out into the
Yeah.
Well, I say I
atmosphere.
apologize. I actually say that I apologize. I've said that my whole life. Multiple times. It's like that's. I mean, probably too much sometimes.
Well, and here's
but-
the thing. So thinking that through, okay, and this is just, I'm just throwing this out there. So I think when people say I fucked up, it's like, okay, I did something wrong, but I didn't wrong you.
Yeah.
When I apologize to you, that means I've wronged you, and people have a hard time admitting that. Maybe that's the issue. Like,
Yeah.
Because if I
How
say
is
to
that
you,
hard to admit? Explain to
Human
me
nature.
why. Why? Why is that? They're words.
I know, but do you always say sorry?
I say I apologize.
I mean,
I have no problem saying that. He'll tell you.
Okay.
Clients, vendors. If I messed up, yeah, I apologize. That's on me.
but that's a situation.
Why is that hard to say that?
But that's a unilateral issue, right?
Yeah.
So if I messed up a piece,
Okay.
I apologize to you. What happens in the situation where you have competing views? I mean, I think about me and my wife. I can't tell you if I apologize first in a long time, and it's terrible. At least I'm self-aware of that. But think about.
Are you really wrong?
Well, I mean, that's a good point.
Oh God, here we go. I'm sorry.
That's how probably doesn't listen to this.
I'm sorry.
But I think to your point too. I think for men, I think for men it's hard to apologize. I do. I really think. I mean,
It depends on what.
But think about it from just a pure human dynamics perspective. Like, men have if you look at men at large, we have a very hard time apologizing
Because the male bravado.
that because we're supposed to be the ones that know it. We're supposed to be the problem solvers. We're supposed to be the ones that fix things. And it's very hard for us to eat crow and say, I'm sorry. I think it's just the male psyche. It's hard. Like I've always had hard times apologizing in relationships.
I do not.
I can get that. I would say all the time.
You are a better man than us.
I'm not a better man at all. I just think that I don't. I think I've apologized too often in my life to the point where it becomes a habit. Like, and it's dismissive. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
I do the same thing.
I apologize. I mean, and I move forward. But at times I say I should really reevaluate that because I was too quick to offer up the apology.
Yep.
But it makes life smoother to me.
See, my thing is I'm always like, well, I'm sorry you're wrong. I'm sorry you were wrong. Let's just get past this.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, okay. So what is the state of decorum in society today? And the reason I want to talk about that is I just watched some excerpts, some scenes from the GOP House leadership vote, and I saw some interesting behavior, and it reminded me about how far we have come in terms of what's acceptable now with humans in positions of power, in suits and dresses and things, in the House of Representatives, our governmental chambers on the federal side, and what is acceptable in regards to language, actions, like whatever happened to having a little class, like whatever happened to disagreeing philosophically, politically, and still being able to work together, even though you might not stand that person, you would never be able to outwardly show that, especially on camera, on film, in front of the public, right? All that stuff is just
out the
seems
window.
like it's gone now.
Well, what you have
And
is
what a lesson for children to observe this crap,
Yes.
you know?
Well, it's all about team. There's nothing, excuse me, anymore politically. It's about Republicans and Democrats, one or the other, not the United States of America. It's what can my team do? Have you ever seen, and I'm not being silly about this, could you imagine everybody's getting impeached over everything? You know, oh, look, when the House goes back, to Republican, we're going to impeach the president. Why? It's a waste. For what? For what reasons? It's not benefiting our country.
It's tit for tat on not just impeachment, on everything.
Exactly. And now what you were talking about, I saw that. Could you imagine losing a vote of your own peers for 15 times, but you have to make concessions because they want them to vote for them? Again, it's a popularity contest, and somebody's right, somebody's wrong on this, but somebody's willing to give up their values. Just to get that, and then to have somebody mock you or the things that they openly say to get what they want,
or to destroy somebody else potentially.
Well, exactly.
It's just nuts.
It was back in the day. I'm sure it happened.
But not to I can imagine Bob Dole and Tip O'Neill. I can't imagine them conducting themselves this way in the 60s, the 70s, and 80s.
Those guys,
maybe behind closed doors, but not out in the public.
Exactly. Well, those guys probably didn't get along politically, but they never let you see it. They shook hands because they realized.
And that's what I mean when I say decorum. Like, there was a decorum of the way they conducted themselves in public.
Yes.
Right? Or am I wrong?
No.
Well, I think decorum's a couple of things, right? I think one is how you conduct yourself, in a civilized society, in your profession, in your life. I think it's how you appear, how you present. There's a lot of pieces to that, right?
Okay.
Do I think decorum has declined? Sure.
Or changed?
I think, take politics aside, 'cause that's a whole different topic, but just look at our profession. I mean, I was having dinner and drinks with another attorney a few weeks ago. She works at a big law firm, and we were actually talking about this exact topic. And she said she was so frustrated with younger lawyers, like coming out of school, that they don't respect the profession. She was talking about she was arguing at the appeals court. She had an argument at the appeals court, which is a pretty big deal. One of the attorneys that was there,
is it federal or state?
State. It was state. So I think it's the Commonwealth Court. I think I can't remember how the state courts work, but the Court of Appeals in the state. She was arguing in front of the state the appeals court, and one of the lawyers was on the docket before her, had on a blazer and leggings. This was a female attorney,
leggings.
had on a blazer but had on leggings, and she's like, that's what we're seeing in the courtroom. She's like, people come in disheveled. They don't respect the decorum of the court, and I see that in our profession. I mean, I don't know if you look at it differently, but I look at, there are many lawyers I've dealt with that just manners are gone. Civility's gone. Just the way they conduct themselves. It's just, I don't know what happened. I don't know. Do you see the same thing?
I think a lot of it has gone online.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So people have lost what it means to be in the office, look professional.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All of that. So I think it's gotten significantly worse.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some companies out there that they require suit, tie every single day.
Mm-hmm. What's your dress policy at Cozza Law?
I mean, we don't necessarily have business casual.
What are your expectations?
I mean, look professional. My expectations. No. I think there are days where, like on Fridays, we tend to be more casual. But I always look at, if I'm leading an organization, I have to set the tone. So I'm not going to look disheveled. Like, I don't ever want to come in, and it's how
I don't think I've ever seen you look disheveled.
But I always look at it. There's many days I look disheveled.
I did hear a story about the back of a limousine.
Well, we were all disheveled.
You had a funny hat on for the photo.
We were all disheveled that day. But
Blackout Bob made an appearance, I hear.
but I look at it from the perspective of, I remember always being told when I was younger, dress for the position you want, not the position you have. So I've always told my son this. I said, I'd rather be overdressed than underdressed in any situation. He used to always bust my balls when he was young. He's like, oh, how come every time we go out, like the grocery store, you have on you wear jeans or put on like a nice shirt? I'm like, because you never know. You never know who you're going to run across. You never know who you're going to run into. And it's just, I'd rather be overdressed than underdressed. And that's how I look at decorum in general, right? Do we have a written policy? No, I don't think we need to. I don't think we have any issues with people's dress in the office. But if we ever did get to that point, then yeah, we'd put a policy in place, because I think we have a profession that we're held to a certain standard, and we should appear as that standard. That's how I look at it. And I know myself, like, when I'm dressed better, I tend to think better, perform better. Like, when I know, like on Fridays, if it's kind of a lazy day and I maybe wear jeans, I'm like, I know I'm not as productive. That's just my mentality, because I'm not in my uniform. It's kind of how I look at it. Like, I look at wearing a suit or wearing, business attire is kind of like my uniform for the day. Like, like I said, I treat my profession like a sport. Like, that's how I think about the practice of law. It is a profession. It's like a sport. So being dressed a certain way is the uniform I put on to play that sport. And that's how I just always approach it. And that's how I just live. And I think, we don't have any issues with dress, but I've seen other lawyers where I'm just like, I've met with people that will reach out to me to kind of network with. And, okay, you're reaching out to a business lawyer you don't know me from Adam. You reach out, I'm like, yeah, I'll have coffee with you. And they'll show up in like jeans and a hoodie. I'm like, I'm not going to fucking take you seriously. Like, are you kidding me? Like, who does that? But it's happened on numerous occasions, and those people I've never thought about again.
Interesting.
It's just decorum. I mean,
can judges dictate decorum in their courtroom?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So if the judge deemed that leggings were inappropriate for that particular judge, can the judge make you wear something different?
I'm sure they could. Yeah, absolutely. I've never been in a situation that has happened, but when this attorney, when she told me, I was just like, holy shit, like that. And she said, this is not a one-time occurrence. Like, this happens more often than you could imagine.
And that's probably crazy. Reflective of all the casualness of society, right?
Yeah, but here's my thing, and I don't know if you guys think differently, but I always, if I'm out somewhere networking with someone, and someone dresses better, I take them more seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to think, okay, they've got their shit together. Even if they're maybe young in their career or junior, if they know how to present themselves, that to me shows something. That means they've got some part of their life together.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm willing to give them an opportunity over someone that may have 20 years experience,
Right.
but looks disheveled.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, if you can't take your appearance seriously,
Mm-hmm.
how can you take your business seriously?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I look at decorum. I don't know if, I mean, you're obviously a different profession, but you're in our I'm assuming you think similarly.
Yeah, I mean,
You're always dressed professionally.
thank you.
He's the lawyer in the office. We always say Matt's like the real lawyer. He's the one that looks like the lawyer, has the office like a lawyer. My office is a disheveled
You're just a
mess.
regular lawyer. He's
That's
the
what
real
you
lawyer.
call me. Yes, you always call me the regular lawyer. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, where do you think it shifted then?
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, it's
That's a
tough.
great question. I don't know.
I think you could argue that it shifted when we became lax on our health.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
When it was okay to be overweight, extremely unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why are we going to go after sweatpants then?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point.
Sweatpants seem to become a fashion statement now, right?
Yeah.
They've been incorporated into more mainstream attire, right?
Yeah. I mean, but no, that's a good point when it comes to health. I think that is.
So, okay, let's unpack it.
Yeah.
If we're on that mantra, which I don't disagree, give me a 5-year time frame.
Meaning what? What do you mean 5-year time frame?
We became okay with the society being overweight. That was the new norm. When?
Yeah, I mean,
But 99 through 2004, was it 95 through 99? Was it?
I don't know. That's a great question. I have no idea. But I mean, at some point it shifted. At some point, and we've talked about this before.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
And to me, it's not about the way you look. Mm-hmm. It's about your health in general. Like
That should be the first issue. It is kind of about the way you look too. If it is a business setting and for appropriate, some things require a certain level of appropriate. Case in point, would you really want to go? So your wife's a dentist, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk the medical field. Like, I don't know if I'd want to go talk to a cancer doctor if I had to. And I go into that office, and I don't mean when they're going for ops. I'm talking they're going to go meet me, right? If the guy's with like in a sweatshirt and in jeans and a t-shirt, or I'm sorry, in jeans and like sneakers, I'm not going to take that doctor as seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not going to.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, there's some fields require a certain level of decorum. I believe in this society, but that's changing too. And I'd be interested to know if it really is tied to when we started being lazier as a people. Then when was that? Because I left corporate America in '99. This is what I remember. Mm-hmm. When I decided to do my own thing, I can remember the last year of my last full year there was probably, let's say, the middle of '98 through the end of '99, year and a half. They were doing all kinds of concessions. Employee concessions were like a big thing. They make employees happy. And one of them was that there was casual Fridays.
Yeah.
And then there was like pizza this day, and there was something else this day. And then there was casual Wednesdays and Fridays. And then right when I left, the dress shirt requirement went away, and you could wear polos and denim or khakis any day. Mm-hmm. Just as I was going out the door. And I kept saying to myself, I know it's not going to pertain to me, but they just lost something. Mm-hmm. Just something just got lost there. Because I used to think too, I would work better on the days that we were forced to wear our dress clothes. And when it was casual Friday, I know I was like mailing it in half the day.
Yeah,
because it's casual.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
it bleeds into your work.
Yep.
It definitely does.
Yeah. And here's the thing, I think. So I think that comes back to accountability and personal responsibility, because it's sad that we have to have policies to tell people how to dress in a profession.
Yeah.
Like, that's the other thing. Like, think about that. Like, we have to actually have a policy that says, this is how you should dress when you come to work. Like, we're at that point in society. Like, people should just understand. Like, I knew being a lawyer that I was going to always dress a certain way. No one ever had to tell me how to dress. I just knew that there was a certain expectation in society of the standard I hold myself to. And I've never had to be told that, right? But the fact that we have to tell some professions and some people within a profession how to dress, like, that says a lot about society in general. People aren't, and that comes back to the health thing. Like, you know, you've got to take personal responsibility, and people have gotten too comfortable blaming something or someone else. It's not my fault. It's like, well, yeah, it is. Like, yes, your health is your fault. Whether your health, like, I know, like, myself, I had to get focused in 2022 because I was a fat piece of shit, like, before that. Like, but I did, like, I felt like I wasn't myself. Like, through the pandemic, I just got out of shape and I didn't feel myself. I didn't feel right. I knew to get to where I wanted to go professionally, I had to get my shit together, and that's what I spent 2022 doing. And it's like, now that's my focus, because, like, I operate better. Like, when I'm in better health and better shape,
sure.
I have 20 more % in the tank, and it's like, and that's how I look at it. And I think people need to start taking responsibility for themselves and the things, you know, the things they're responsible for, their health, their appearance, the decorum, the way they treat others. I think. If we started doing that as a society, a lot of problems would go away, I believe.
Yeah, we're in a casual mode. Would you not agree, Fred?
Yeah. Overly casual. It's casually weak. Casual week. Yeah.
Casual year.
Yeah, a set of casual Wednesday.
Well, let me ask you this. So this obviously, you're in your profession. There's a lot of, you know, you folks have a decorum that goes on.
What do you mean by you folks?
Touring folks.
Thanks.
So where you're not really required to wear dress clothing because you're out there doing.
But here's the thing:
there's still an element of decorum in regards to how you conduct your business, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. Now what was funny was I was listening to you guys talk, and I decided not to tell this story, but now since you brought it up, I will.
Do tell, Fred.
Well, if you're in a stagehand, or if you're in the job we have, you don't want to be seen. You want to wear black.
Okay.
Still, after all these years, you're going to have one idiot that's been doing this for 30 fucking years. I forgot my blacks. You should have black on anyway, but you have those idiots that are so casual, just checking it in. Mm-hmm. You know you got to wear black to be on a show. I'm going to wear my bright orange hunting shirt today. Why would you even bring that to work to begin with? But that's what happens, and it happens all the time. It's just people just phoning it in for guitar tech. One of the good things that I always laughed about, and everybody used to bitch about, you know, Dave Mustaine making, like, the guys in Megadeth. He treated it like a sports team. You wore a blazer. We're in a metal band. You know what? But the cat was on it, man. You know, you wore a button-down shirt and a jacket.
When you traveled?
Yeah,
I did not know that, Fred.
Oh, yeah. When you
How come none of those pictures didn't surface?
Well, they're on the net. You can look at any of those airport things. I mean, I didn't have to do it, but when I work, I have a button-down. I have a black button-down Dickies that I wear for Trans-Siberia, and that's just become my thing. You know what I mean? And you see a lot of the top techs wear a black button-down. Yeah, and you got some cats with, like, you know, the Black Sabbath T-shirt or whatever. Those are, like, usually the young guys, and it's not knocking them, but, you know, I at a young age, 23, directing, do you ever lighten up? Because I had that button-down shirt on, and I'm out there fixing lights and you know, setting up cameras, and no, you dress for success because that's the people you're working for, and you want them to hire you back. Again, going back to the Raj story, all those people in India. If you go to a different country, man, you've got Indian people in 3-piece suits, out in the mud because they want to impress you. I remember my buddy Sergey in Russia. He had his jacket and a vest and a pair of dress pants, you know, and he's handing off guitars because they want to impress you. This is their break. And, you know, and it's just, you know, there's people that want every chance they can to prove what they can offer to you, and it's usually those people that are dressed up. It's not.
So where did we lose it? Where did America? Let's talk about America. Where did America lose the little bit of formality we had in our clothing? My wife tells me all the time she travels overseas. She just came back from Doha. She travels to Israel on a regular basis, Spain and France and the UK. But in Italy, especially, I mean, all the guys, you'll never see sneakers over there. They're all in leather-soled dress shoes.
Nice
I mean,
dress shoes.
Freddie's traveled the world. I mean, we dress down in this country. I'm not saying more than any other country, but we're probably low on the totem pole in regards to formality, I would think, right?
Look, man, if you're on a airplane, I've seen people pick their toes. You know what I mean? They're wearing flip-flops because they want to be comfortable.
I can tell you some stories.
I want to be comfortable. I want to wear my sweatpants or my yoga
it comes
pants.
to comfort. That you just said it right
I'm
there. It's
spoiled.
comfort.
Yeah.
It's comfort. That's what it is.
It's their own.
Yeah, and you want to defy me? Then don't you hurt my feelings.
Yep, exactly it. I was
you
just
don't
going
have
to
the
go
right
there.
to hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
This is my emotional support pig here, and I'm going to hold it on my lap through the entire
Now
flight.
you're taking my shtick because I had all that in that instant of comfort. I had the emotional support pig was going to be a dog, but I'll admit that. But a pig is even better.
And Allie's told me stories about guinea pigs. I think it was.
Yeah.
And
I've seen them on planes.
I could be wrong, but I think the craziest thing she had was like a little pony. There was a little miniature emotional support pony.
I know there's goats.
There was emotional support armadillos and things. It's just nuts. I mean, like they have to make accommodations for these things.
Well, here's a question. Since you're the youngest in the room, since you pointed out earlier and made us all feel old.
Now I feel old.
We're like decorum in the way. Were you taught that, or did you just know? Because I'm curious. Because like I remember growing up, like we were kind of. I'm from an Italian family, so you just kind of knew there was a certain way you conducted yourself. I was raised that way. Yeah. You're a different generation, obviously. How was that something you were taught, or is that something you just learned through time?
I don't know if we ever taught that,
or told that. Maybe told.
Taught or told. My dad was in the business world. He was an accountant his whole career. I have 3 older brothers, so I mean, I had a lot of mentors in my life that. You knew when you were messing up, when you weren't looking correctly or looking correct.
And you were told, I'm sure.
And then, told and then some. So I think I had the benefit of learning that way.
Okay.
But no, I don't think it's told. I don't.
Yeah. And why aren't we telling people this?
I think corporate's a big driver of that. Corporate America is a big driver of how society is set in regards to like dress formality. And when corporate America pulls back formality, think about how many companies are just purely casual now. It isn't even business casual. It's casual.
I mean, most tech companies are. I mean, most tech companies are very casual. And again, like, it's frustrating that we have to tell people how to dress, but that's where we are. And I feel like I try and, like with Gabe, he's 21 years old. He's going to his senior year of college and going to go to law school. Like, I've always been clear with him. There's a certain way you conduct yourself in life, and you appear, and you have manners. You speak appropriately. You treat people with decency and respect, and you take care of your appearance. Now, obviously, he's a college kid, and he's, he doesn't need to dress that way in college. But if he's going to work at the firm this summer, like, I have an expectation of how he'll appear. And if he doesn't appear that way, I'm going to say something to him. Like, no, that's not how you dress.
Yeah, it's learning
about having to buy him all his clothes because he doesn't have any of this shit. So, yeah. Or I'll just take all of mine. But yeah, it is. But I think we need to start teaching kids that. We need to start showing them, because society's fucked right now. I mean, the fact that we're this casual about everything, about the way we dress, the way we eat, the way we take care of ourselves, just
or lack thereof.
Yeah, and it's like that's just going to lead to more and more problems. And we've got to right the ship in some way, shape, or form. And that just takes effort from everybody.
Well, I want to ask you two gentlemen a question that Rocco and I kind of went down the rabbit hole a little bit. Our last sit down on that show we do called How We See It, the podcast edition.
Yeah, yes.
We had our year-end show, and I was looking at things that really caught our attention during the year. A lot of them are news items, but the one thing we decided to go down the rabbit hole a bit was, because it came up multiple times this past year, and that is the whole body positivity movement. And we have to be very careful and kind in how we don't have to, but we were in the way we talk about it, because we're not here to hurt feelings. We're trying to be understanding as to why it exists. But we both, I think, came to the conclusion that, if you make the issue about health first and aesthetics second, when they promote, I don't want to say glamorize, but there are some of these photo shots that are rather glamorous, but when they photo and promote obese people in a glamorous way, I can see the self-esteem issues being the reason they do it. That's a weighty thing. But are we also promoting bad diet, bad lifestyle, which will put a burden on society, obviously, but more importantly on the person being photographed, who's the ultimate victim there? And why, as a society, we don't have a lot of courage to talk about this, because it seems like when you talk about it, you're a no good son of a bitch. You're coming at it from a position of meanness, and again, hurt feelings and all that bullshit. Are you first off, are you too familiar with what I'm referring to? Have you seen the ads?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on the body positivity movement as you understand it to be?
Well, what frustrates me is that they can't separate the two out. So when I say the two, I mean the health concerns and then what you were talking about, the aesthetics. If you disagree because of the health issues, doesn't matter. You are a terrible person. You are a piece of shit. How could you say that? You can't even discuss health issues anymore. Because if you don't accept me for who I am, that's a you problem. It's like, well, no, you're actually going to be an issue for insurance purposes. You will be a drain and not a positive advancement on society.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's interesting often because the folks that come at you in that way are the people who believe in the concept of the greater good.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Right? I mean, it really isn't the people who are questioning it that really believe in the greater good. But that's an argument. If you want to use it, we can use that argument against you. So I just feel like, Fred, I co-opted your moment. Let me just say this before I go to you. I just feel like we have lowered the bar so far on so many things that aesthetic beauty in entertainment now, right? I don't define that, neither do you. It's the society defines it. I get it. But I'm sorry if you are 340 pounds and you've got a problem, that you're carrying dangerous amounts of weight, odds are likely that's not going to look good in a negligee. And for me to pretend that it does, I just can't do it. I'm not going to lash out and make a comment about it. I'm not going to hurt someone's feelings. But if you ask me the question, do I think this is healthy for society? I just don't.
No.
I just don't. And I'm not afraid to say it.
How dare you put someone down for the way they look? They're so brave. They're so brave to come out there and pose in a negligee and go on TV in their 600-pound life.
I think it's exploitative, to be honest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to ride around Walmart in their complimentary fucking rascal scooter. Fucking, I just want to be like Cartman, man. Just like kick somebody over.
The rascal.
Yeah, dude.
I knew the rascal would make its ugly face.
Come on, man.
Here's the problem, though. Before you say your piece, Fred.
I'm done. I'm going to get in trouble. The show will be canceled because of me.
We're already getting canceled. So as we're talking through this, I'm thinking like, okay, this body positivity movement has become the participation trophy for adults.
I was going to say that.
Yeah. That's really, as I sit here and listen to this,
or for weight challenged people.
Well, and here's the thing, because look, I don't care what people look like.
Neither do I.
Yep.
But being healthy is hard. And again, people seek comfort and to take your health under your control so you're not a drain on the system eventually. It's a hard thing to do.
Or your family.
Correct.
Exactly.
Your kids.
Yes, exactly. Like that's what I look at. Like I want to be healthy for my kids. So my kids grow up with a healthy dad. I can live as long as I possibly can within the power I have to do that. And I think we created this movement to say, well, we're just going to say, here's a participation trophy for just being you because you're special. Oh, look, okay, cool.
Here's
Everybody's
a
special.
reward for just existing.
Yes.
Well, when you had said lower the bar, that's exactly what popped in my head. But what was so you could handle their trophy easier, so they don't have to raise their arm to get it. Because it's too much work. Because so the bar's been lowered. You know what, man? I've got no problem with what anybody looks like.
Yeah.
But if you're going to sit there,
obviously, you look in the mirror every day.
Right?
Exactly,
man.
Low blow, man. Low blow.
But to sit there,
he'll get me back.
But to sit there and you know what you always find with these folks? They blame somebody else. It's always somebody else that did this to me, or somebody else is doing this, or somebody else makes me feel like this. So I ate 20 bags of Fritos the other day, and I had 5 chickens and a bunch of Big Macs, and because that's what made me feel good.
And the problem is only going to get worse.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's only going to get worse because how many problems that could be solved if you were just a healthy individual through a myriad of pills, I mean, how many ads out there are from Big Pharma? Do they control 70? I don't know the number.
It's a lot.
I would imagine they have the vast majority of advertising now.
Absolutely.
More profitable for folks to be overweight, right?
Absolutely.
It's sick care, not health care.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, and that's what we promote in this country. And like I said yesterday on the radio show, like choose your hard. Being unhealthy is hard. Getting healthy is hard. Being poor is hard. Becoming wealthy is hard. Like choose your hard. And people are just choosing to not do anything because now it's easy, right? So you're choosing your hard. You're choosing your hard now or later because if you're an unhealthy individual, it's easy to remain that way now. And you don't see the impacts of the hard until later in life.
Sure.
To get healthy is hard as hell.
Oh, yeah.
But then life gets really easy when you do. And it's like you got to choose your hard, and people aren't looking at it from a holistic perspective or from that 30,000 foot view. They're looking at the immediacy because we want instant gratification. I'm going to have that burger. I'm going to have that piece of pizza. I'm not going to worry about it. But then you keep eating that pizza every day and those burgers, and then 5 years from now you're on insulin and your healthcare costs are going up, and you're complaining that the system's broken. Well, you broke the system. Like we need to get like. I believe America is one of the only countries in the world that we have sick care. Like we don't promote preventative medicine.
No.
Like for me to go to a doctor to get like my hormones looked, like my regular PCP did not do this.
Right.
Like, oh, you're good.
You had to seek it out.
Like I had to seek it out to find someone that would actually look at how do I look holistically at my vitamin intake. Like,
optimize.
It's just we're not, because then if I do that, I don't need any medicine. Right? It's like, but doctors don't do that because they're encouraged by Big Pharma to, hey, let's just keep these people on medicine. Like, oh, you're good. I'm like, no, I'm definitely not good. Like, I feel like shit. Like, I'm definitely not good. Like, oh, your levels are normal, but you're on the low range normal. But we can't do anything for that. I'm like, well, yeah, you can, but you don't choose. You choose not to because you want me to stay here, so I'll keep taking medicine or have to take more medicine. It's bullshit. The system.
Yeah, it's.
I'm off my soapbox.
I think every human at some point in their life struggles with figuring out what level of self-esteem they have and or struggles with the concept of self-esteem. We all do. We're human.
Sure.
I get it. I am, believe me, when I decided to make a change, I looked at myself in the mirror and I didn't want anyone, including probably my wife, to really take a hard look at me because I hated that I let myself been so undisciplined. How dare I let myself get this way? Yep. I'm not saying that my shame at that moment should mirror other people's. I'm just saying that was the driver for me. Mm-hmm. I think we all have that in us. We just have to make a decision what's really important. Mm-hmm. When we glamorize obesity, that's what I'm going to say. When we, as a society, when we glamorize obesity, take the individual personalities away from it, when we glamorize it and then monetize it with television and all the crap that goes with it.
Honey Boo Boo.
It's
the
like
perfect example.
It just really, there's a lot of shows like that. And you know, and think about this for a second. Having this conversation takes guts.
Yeah.
Because the other side of the argument has got everything just laid right before them. They're on the righteous side, right? And anyone that detracts from that, you're against people. You're mean spirited. You don't want people to find self-esteem. How dare you look down upon people? It ain't got nothing to. This conversation has nothing to do with hurting anybody's feelings at all. End of story. I would think the worst way to hurt someone's feelings is to let them die when they're 36 years old.
Absolutely.
Because they're 485 pounds and they just basically ate themselves into a grave. And no, not everybody that's really big has an eating problem. There's other medical issues.
Yeah, right.
I get it.
Drinking,
I'm
drugs.
I'm not lumping everything, not just Fred's life. I'm just not lumping everything together. But I'm saying, looking at generalities, and let's say, if you're 600 pounds, odds are likely consuming food was probably a big part of it. I'm just saying that if we glamorize bad behavior, because we do it in many aspects of life, but if we do it in this way, the victims is everybody.
Yeah.
Especially young people, male and female, because that's the crap they're seeing. And they need to be sophisticated enough in their little minds when they're young to understand that the difference between everybody deserves respect, no one should be looked upon, but I also have to understand too that that's not healthy. I don't want that, so I have to avoid that, but still at the same time have love and respect for the people who are suffering with that.
Yeah.
That's what I think is not happening when they glamorize the obesity. In my opinion. Your turn.
I'm not fat, I'm big boned.
I didn't call you fat.
Fluffy.
Yes. I've never known you ever. You've never been fat.
I'm fluffy.
Look, I mean, this whole thing, again, I think it boils down to...
We create nicknames for it now, right? They're called squishy. Like women call themselves... Or whatever. The squishy's the latest thing now. Like, I'm not big, I'm just squishy. That's it's on television everywhere. What I'm saying is, like, we are literally making excuses or trying to soften stereotypes, I guess. I don't get it.
What we have to get to, like you said, decouple health from the looks. It's not about the looks, but we're making it. This whole body positivity movement is saying, well, it's okay to look this way. I don't care.
It is.
That's what I'm saying. Like, but we're the frame we're creating is that it should be. We should be. If you look that way and you are healthy, awesome.
Yep.
That's amazing. Like, I know many
That's
people.
We're all built differently.
Like, according to stats, I am severely obese. I mean, for my height, I should weigh 160 pounds.
Yeah.
I weigh 225 pounds. Like, I'm severely obese. So the system's broken when it comes to that stuff. So if you're healthy and you weigh more, who cares?
Yep.
Like, it's
100%.
But we're glamorizing the look and not talking about the health. And the health is what matters. Like, we need to encourage healthy habits in this country.
Take away looks, though. I think it's also happiness. If you attack my health, you're saying I should not be happy. They try to combine those two. So we talk about glamorizing looks, but I think happiness is also a part of that.
So having a view like I possess, it's a no-win argument really in conversation, because anything that I say, they're going to basically say, well, you are against someone's inner peace, self-esteem, and their pursuit of happiness.
Against their happiness.
And I can't imagine that living a life compromised from an eating decision, if indeed that's what it is, an eating decision is a pathway to happiness. I cannot imagine that early death and diabetes and all kinds of medical related health is a path to happiness. I don't see that.
We are too inclined in society to tell people that life should be easy when it's not. Like, it's not easy. Life isn't easy. Parenting's not easy. Running a business isn't easy. Being a lawyer's not easy. Being a man's not easy. Nothing's fucking easy, and you have to just understand that. But
what is a man, actually?
But let's not even go on that rabbit hole, dude. We'll be here till fucking tomorrow. But that's what we're trying to do with this, right? Like, it's just like, you should just be happy with who you are. and you should okay, like, but that's not how life works, because if you are unhealthy, it's going to affect your mental state, it's going to affect your physical health, it's going to strain the people you love and surround yourself with, because they're going to be the ones taking care of you. They're going to be the ones dealing with your mental state. Like, we're not talking about this shit. That's what we need to focus on. We're too busy about, like, everybody should just be happy with who you are. Like, I will never be. I'm always I'm blissfully dissatisfied. That's how I live my life. Like, I am happy and content with where I am, but I'm never satisfied with myself. There will never come a point in time where I wake up and like, I'm good.
I mean, you're a realtor. I heard this from, I can't remember who now, but
Realtor.
they said treat your body like it's a house that you're going to have to live in for the next 70 years.
Yes. Jim Rohn. Teach your body.
Yes.
Treat your body as a temple, not a woodshed.
Yes.
A temple.
Yep.
It's the only place you have to live. And
It's the truth.
Right. He was
It's the
right.
truth.
He was right. 100%.
And people don't understand, like, how, like, even I look at just the 12 months ago from where I was now, like, I feel 100% better. Like, I'm mentally sharp. Like, and I felt like I was good then. Like, I was still, but it's like, I feel completely different. And it's just like, people don't understand little changes in your health and your habits can make such an impact. But the problem is, it's a slow burn. It doesn't happen
There's no
instantaneously.
instant gratification.
It's like, there's that book, The Compound Effect, and one of the first examples they give in it is they talk about two guys, and they say one guy, they're both kind of overweight. One guy just comes home every night, eats a couple bags of chips, or eats some chips at night, and just kind of does his thing, and doesn't really see any change. He's kind of the same. Other guy decides he's gonna start walking an hour at night. Mm-hmm. After a month, both look the same. After 2 months, both look the same. A year later, the guy that's eating the chips weighs 20 pounds more. The guy that was walking every day is 20 pounds less. But you have to go through that. It's that compound effect, day after day after day after day, because eventually you hit the hockey stick. People don't ever get to this point. They give up too soon. Not because we're taught in America, instant gratification, social media, everything's quick, like Amazon 2-day delivery. Like, we want everything right now.
We want results immediately.
And it's not how the world works, unfortunately.
And here's the thing, I guess, the simplest thing a human can do to start the process, besides the figuring out the food thing, even if they're still overeating, is exactly what you just said.
Move.
One foot in front of the other,
Yes.
just move and walk.
Yes.
Walking solves so many. Yes, I'm a big proponent of it. It's like what I do every day of my life for like between 60 to 90 minutes. I'm fanatical about it. You don't have to be like me, but I'm just here to tell you, as a middle-aged guy, that simple act of that discipline, which is so easy, just do it every day. It solves a lot of problems.
Yep.
But we don't want to do that. I can't tell you to people that say, hey, man, I saw what you did. I want to do that too. Okay, and then you check back like a couple months and they haven't done it once.
Yeah.
I get it. I do. I understand it, but it's a shame because it's not very difficult to start the process.
Nope.
And then that leads into so many other things. But again, if we're glamorizing sedentary behavior and gluttony, if that's really because we don't want to hurt someone's feelings, which I don't either, but I'd rather hurt your feelings than save your life. And I think that's what Rogan and Goggins and those guys say. If I hurt your feelings but save your life, do you like me then?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not that guy. I'm just saying, I'm not a nutrition expert at all, but I'm just saying, you can eat. I guess my other point is this. Is it really worth what they want? I mean, because here's the thing. If you could give them a magic pill that would shed 100 pounds the next day, they take that fucking pill. I mean, every model in there would take that pill. I guarantee you. Oh, no, I like the way. No, you don't. If you're 330 pounds, the photo shoot was great. But if I can give you a pill that you'd lose that weight tomorrow, guess what? I know you're taking that pill. They're not happy with that. They're not.
You have celebrities who lost the weight and then got shamed for losing the weight.
Yeah. Yep.
Who was it? Adele? I think she was one of the ones that lost significant amount of weight, and she got shamed for losing the weight.
Yep.
We're in bizarro land.
That's bizarre land. Bizarre. But think about the last point on the body positivity movement. Like, think about the companies that are the ones promoting it. The Johnson and Johnsons of the world, the companies that own all the soaps but those are also the pharmaceutical companies. So let's promote body positivity to keep people unhealthy so they can keep buying our drugs. It's a big fucking circular argument, in my opinion. Like,
what about health positivity? There's a new movement for you, right?
Because then the pharmaceutical company, because if people get healthy, we don't need medicine. We don't need all these drugs. Like, think about that.
Are all countries do all countries allow for big pharma advertising?
I think we're the only country that allows for it.
Yeah,
we're the only country that allows.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
no, you're not going to see stuff like this, and
no.
you may have some, but it's not like it is here, where it's rammed down your throat every commercial, man.
Yeah.
Every commercial, there's something about
Why are we so overweight in the United States?
because we're lazy.
We're lazy, and look at the food.
Look at the food.
I mean,
love
it's sad
fucking
that-
Taco Bell. It's great, but it's the worst shit you can eat. It's delicious. I mean,
Are we one of the only countries that the poorest are the most overweight?
yeah,
Because think about
yeah, you're right. You're
think
absolutely
about
right. Yep.
what is the cheapest.
Accessibility.
Get a $1
Happy
burger
Meal.
Yep.
from McDonald's.
Yep.
Actual healthy alternatives are $10 plus.
Yep. That's exactly right.
So check it out. When I found this out the other day and it was on the net, but it has some weight to it. They're not allowed to call Kraft Singles cheese because there's not enough cheese in it to be called cheese. That's why it's called Kraft Singles.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
it goes along. If you go to take some of this food that we have in America and try to take it to Europe, it's banned because of all the chemicals, of all the non-nutritional values. We're eating rubber mats when you go to Subway, and it's the truth. I mean, it's the same thing they put in yoga mats.
Wait. What?
Oh, yeah, dude. Look at the chemicals at a yoga mat and look at a piece of bread from Subway. That's what the whole big thing was years ago, that the same chemicals...
Well, Fred, you just fucked up my Subway.
Well, no, I eat them too, and I'm like, well,
I'll never have a Subway
damn
again.
yoga mats. But yeah, we're looking up on the net. What they're having are in America, you can put chemicals in shit, normal everyday shit, just because it's cheap to do, and there's no nutritional value. It causes cancer, but you can still put it in there. But just so you put up a little sign that says, "Hey, look, this causes cancer in California." It does. Starbucks, you have to go to. If you go to Starbucks in California,
I think everything causes cancer in California.
But the thing is, if you go to Europe, you don't even have that option because that food doesn't exist. You don't have Oreos with fucking the shit that they put in here. You don't have the Big Macs taste better there. Food tastes better there because it's not processed. The chemicals that we have here, which the food companies are owned by the pharmaceutical companies. These companies are going together and buying.
Archer Daniels Midland.
They're buying everything up, and then they can do whatever they want. But that's only here in America.
Yeah.
So because you're saying it's a cost issue in terms of we can feed more people.
Make it the chemicals make it cheaper to make food because now the shelf life's longer. So if you look like in Europe, right, they don't have these chemicals. So the shelf life that people are buying, people go to the grocery store 3-4 times a week in other countries because they have to buy fresh food. Here we can go to the grocery store once a month because of the shelf life on things.
Yep.
If you look at like grocery stores, right, typically only shop on the outside because that's where the fresh stuff is. You go in the aisles, it's all processed shit, and it's crazy.
I laughed at a movie scene one time on 28 Days. That zombie movie, when they go to the grocery store, all the food's rotted except for apples. Because it was they irradiate them or keep them for their shelf life, and even then they're worried about eating the apples, because of But that's just it. In America, it's you can
like
keep that shit forever.
This costs more than this. I guarantee you, this bottle of water was probably $3, and this was like $1.99.
Yep.
Like, think about that. Like, this is
water costs more than gas.
I enjoy. Well, that's what I mean. So it's like when you think, to your point, like I can go to McDonald's and get a filling meal of like a burger and fries for $5. If I want to get a salad from like a Hello Bistro with like all fresh stuff, it's gonna be $15.
Yep.
Or if I want to go to Chipotle and get like beans and rice and meat and veggies, it's going to be $15.
And you know what's crazy is like it's and this goes against my capitalistic nature probably, but that really saddens me that the least means raising children today don't have the best quality food or food that's on par with other children of means. I mean, the children, it's a hard one, man.
It is.
It's a hard one because children were not asked to be born. They're here. So access to nutrition and medical care should not be determined by parental income.
Yeah,
Other
I
things
agree.
can be, but the basics.
No, I agree with that.
And we're giving these kids just garbage to eat.
Exactly.
It's horrifying.
Making a society of workers, people that aren't going to question anything, people that are comply with everything, and they're doing it through nutrition and food. You're
Why the school system was created to create workers.
To create workers,
that's what it
not
was.
thinkers.
Yeah,
And
workers. The Rockefellers started the school system.
Exactly.
To create workers for the factories, not to create thinkers.
Not to create thinkers.
Last question to wrap this up. We will never get an answer, but I just want to touch on it. We are now 2 years away after the pandemic right now, and again, we don't have to go down a rabbit hole here, but I just want your guttural reaction of this question. If it turns out that a lot of things that we were told during the pandemic, whether it's a vaccine, whether it's the order of how we did things or we're ordered to do things, all these remediative efforts, if it vets out over the next couple years that these things were wrong, that certain people gave us bad information, certain corporations there was mandates to do things that ultimately didn't help and maybe could hurt our society. Will there be any repercussions? Will there be people, just generally speaking, do you think people will be held accountable? People of influence or people that were in the administration? I don't mean, I'm not even talking about political administration. In the administrative capacities to do these things for the health, people that gave mandates or implemented, governors of states, presidents, senators. Do you think there's going to be anybody in this clusterfuck of confusion that'll be held accountable or even exposed down the line if it turns out that these things were not helpful and maybe not helpful, maybe hurtful to society as a large? Or is we just going to keep rolling down the road and just wash this under a rug and there's a couple of eggs were broken across the thing, and we just got to keep moving forward? Will there be any repercussions if it turns out factually, what does that even mean today, that there were some bad actors?
I'll let someone else go first.
I'm not saying there is. I'm saying if it turns
I
out to be.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing: how you got to look at it. On our level, as a public, we're in uncharted territory. We don't know what's going on. We're going to trust that the people above us are making the correct decisions for us.
Will we?
Well, it depends on what comes out. Did they knowingly deceive us to make profit for themselves? Because again, some of these cats made decisions because this is what we thought was right. Look at New Zealand. They closed down their country. Everybody wore their masks, and hardly anybody got sick for like the longest time. And then blah blah blah. But you had
ultimately it got there.
It got there eventually because it became lax. It came in,
or maybe it was unremediable. Maybe there's no way of stopping it. It's a virus.
Exactly. Eventually, it's going to get there. But you know what? They fended it off way more than we did.
They did.
And again, our problem is the people saying, well, you're infringing upon my freedoms. But
what if those people end up being right, Fred? In the
well,
end?
you know what?
When we look back on it,
absolutely.
When we look back on it, what if not that they were right in their militant behavior about it? Because some of them went off the deep end. But what if philosophically they were right?
Well,
that, they didn't believe in the pill they were given, and it turns out that the pill was a poison pill. Yep. Is anyone going to pay the piper for that? If that's what ultimately is.
Well, that's where it has to come down to. You have to know, was it intentionally done? Because again, we're the workers, but we had that choice a lot of people did, and a lot of people did. In my business, I had to get the shot. But, now all of a sudden, and I'm not being silly saying this shit, you see all these cats perfectly healthy, dying and killing over a heart attack, hey, man, I took a shot, and I'm not, the most healthy guy right now after all that, and I try to be. But, do I know if that caused it? No, because I do a lot of other things, that high blood pressure and shit like that, But the thing is,
will anyone pay the price if it's found out to be manipulative?
It should be, but you know damn well that they're not.
Okay.
You know damn well that they're not. Because, again, Big Pharma controls everything. It's companies and power beyond us that are going to decide who pays and who doesn't. And whatever information comes out, that's what we're going to have to take. You could sit around and go down every conspiracy theory, as to what caused it, where it came from, what kept it going. But you better believe that somebody is making money off of it, and they're going and it's going to go for as long as they decided that it's going to make money. Nobody's going to pay for it, or it's going to be a patsy that pays for it.
Matt?
What a question to end on off of the right and wrong starting point.
Yeah, I think it ties in nicely.
It does.
Yeah, it's. I'd like to give people the benefit of the doubt, and we are in uncharted territory, and they were working with imperfect information when this all came out of the gates. How they handled it and continued to handle it in what you were saying, the militant behavior of
both sides.
Exactly. How they were handling the situation. I think there is enough outs at this point that no one will be held accountable or be forced to go to the podium and say, we messed up. I apologize.
Sorry.
Yep, sorry. So no, I don't think there's going to be anyone there. Shoot, for the shots themselves, they have immunity. So legally speaking, there's not going to be any repercussions there.
If it turns out that the vaccine does more harm than good and causes deaths down the line here, Pfizer holds no liability.
Because of the liability. They have that immunity, right?
Yep. They do.
Because through that emergency use, I believe.
Yep.
So you don't think, regardless of where if they found out that Wuhan, if it comes out, with solid evidence, and that the United States government vets it out that it started at Wuhan, and here's how it started, and this guy did it. No one's going to go blame.
No. I look. I have many opinions on this. Some I'll keep to myself. Some I'll articulate. Like I said yesterday when we were speaking, I think to your point, we had imperfect information. I think the way things were handled was complete and utter bullshit. I think America, and to your point, Fred, about the freedoms, I disagree with you to an extent. I think we're adults. We didn't need to be babysat by the government. We should, if you're sick, stay home. Wash your hands. Don't spit on people. Don't cough on people. That's common. That's shit you should be doing anyways. The fact that we had to go on TV every day and say, make sure you wash your hands for 20 seconds and make sure we stay 6 feet apart. I typically don't get within 6 feet of someone I'm talking to them. And if I'm sick, I stay home and I wash my hands. That's just normal fucking human behavior. And we were just looking for excuses to control people. And there were people like me who, I'm a logical person. When it started, I'm like, yeah, this is something. This is something we're not aware of. And then as time went on and the goalposts kept moving, I'm like, this doesn't make fucking sense. Why does walking in one direction at a grocery store save lives?
Yes.
Why does this shit? No one could articulate it. And I got to the point, I'm like, fuck this. And then I talked to friends of mine that were doctors. And every single one of them said the same thing to me, like I said yesterday. If you are a healthy individual, if you get it, you'll get sick, you'll get over it. If you have these certain underlying conditions, it'll probably be hell for you.
Comorbidities.
Yeah, that was the thing. And it was that kind of how the flu works or other sicknesses. And the vaccine, no, I didn't get it because I, one, didn't know enough about it. I wasn't going to stick something in me that wasn't proven to work, and now we're looking at it. Anybody I know that has gotten sick, severely sick, in the past 2 years with COVID or without COVID, have all been people who have been vaccinated.
Oh, I felt like shit since my second shot.
That's just how I look at it. Now, will someone pay the piper for all this? I highly doubt it, because there's too much power involved. I think COVID is real. I think it was a dangerous thing. I think it had a terrible impact. It killed a lot of people, and that is unfortunate. I think the government overreached. I think they did things to just see how much control they could take. The fact that in Pennsylvania we had red, yellow, and green. Like, explain to me the fucking logic of that. Well, you only have so many people that have COVID, so you guys can go to restaurants. And you got, so like your New Zealand point, right? There's one government there. So they were able to do one thing. Here we have 50 governments, right? And like we talked about yesterday, like we couldn't, like states were doing what they wanted. There was no real national response. So when West Virginia opened up, I drove across the border to fucking go to dinner because I wanted to sit in a restaurant and have a margarita and eat nachos. Like that's what I did. And it was just like, so you couldn't, nothing we did to contain was going to work.
Right.
And we should have just let people live their lives, create herd immunity, go out, be reasonable adults. Like, there's always going to be bad actors, there's always going to be assholes, but for the most part, we all wanted to do what was right. Just stay home if you're sick, stay away from people, do what's right. And we should have done that.
And we could have done that and still limited like huge gatherings, right? And we could have had a compromise situation. It could have been based on logic, but we just did not.
Look at the
logic.
Look at the
Fear
logic.
ruled the day.
Like, hey, we're gonna, like, today COVID's really bad, but you know what? On Monday we're gonna shut down this. So well, why not today? Like, if it's so bad, like, why are we waiting till Monday? Because it was money. Well, that's what I mean. Like, there was
restaurant rules were the worst. I mean, you're trying to explain the logic of like I have to wear the mask from the time I enter the property, open the door, enter the building. But then as soon as I sit down with other people, then I can take the mask off and
only
eat.
if you order a hot dog. Make sure you order food.
I remember going to the casino with my buddy who was in town, and like you couldn't buy beer unless you were buying food.
Hot dog.
And there was a line of people literally going up. It was in the casino. You couldn't buy alcohol without food. You had to buy food. They were trying to prevent people from going and congregating and getting drunk and doing stupid shit. So literally at the casino, there was a line where you can get beer and a hot dog. People just go and throw the hot dog in the garbage. Like, go buy the beer and the hot dog, throw it in the garbage.
Yep. There were bars that I went to when they started doing that again, when they opened back up, that they would just give you the food to stick on your table.
Yeah.
So you'd go eat your beer. When you left the hot dog, and the next people would come in. And
hey, I can distinctly remember going and doing some real estate deals in the height of all that, and I went into Al's Cafe, the parking lot at Al's Cafe, and I saw just it's packed, and people were just pouring out of there, no masks. It was a free for all, and I was like, this is a group of individuals that clearly don't care.
Yeah, that place definitely did not give a shit. But yeah, that was the problem. Like, we're going to look back in history, and yes, this was real. But we're going to also look back and be like, we collectively lost our fucking mind for 2 years.
Yep.
Like, people were washing their groceries, washing their packages. I remember walking in the woods. We went out with the kids to walk through the fucking woods, and there was someone coming down the path. They hid behind a tree.
Yeah.
Literally hid behind a tree. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, what are we?
Oh yeah, I used to walk in the daytime.
Like, are you shitting me?
And I would go on the trail, but people were like mad because I wouldn't walk with a mask, and I'm like, so I had to start walking at 11 o'clock at night through my hometown.
Stupid.
To stay away from people so no one would see me without wearing a mask.
Yeah.
It was absolutely insane.
Yeah. Yes. It was the stupidest shit.
Yeah, I got running through my town.
Yeah.
I was trying to run a lot more.
Yeah.
And I was running past someone, and they looked at me, and they just started yelling at me. And they yelled, "White male privilege." I said, how did that even come up? I'm just trying to run and get healthy here. And
you were breathing a special air.
They could not believe that, one, I didn't run over to the other side of the street or run in the grass. Just running.
Man, I could get us canceled really quick. But I'm going to let that one go.
Yeah, I think it's starting to come out now. I think you're starting to see some real factually based data come out with some and then you're also starting to see some what we believe to be the mainstream media start to admit that some of these mediation tactics were proven now not to work.
Yeah, they don't work.
And there's more coming daily.
Yeah.
So, the next couple of years for those that are paying attention is going to be very interesting. And maybe in the long run we learn from this. And if it happens again, God, we don't want it to happen again. But if it does, gentlemen, I appreciate it.
Of course. It's awesome.
This was fantastic conversation.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Real conversations,
Yes.
things that we don't do in real life anymore. But I appreciate it. We will definitely do it again.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, friends. We are out.